if you look around us, you will find every second company is actually a family business. And one of the reasons why these businesses have been so successful is that they inherently have this risk averse approach, which actually work in a positive manner with these family businesses, because whenever they take some decision, they take that decision after due deliberations.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of School to Startup, brought to you by Tracxn, a private market intelligence platform that's been supporting the global university ecosystem for over 12 years. Through our university partnerships, we work with institutions driving innovation and entrepreneurship, and this series highlights the academic leaders making that happen. I'm Harish, your host today, and I'm joined by Professor Vinod Thakur, Assistant Professor of Strategic Management and faculty in charge of the Incubation Center and Accelerator at MDI Gurgaon. Professor Thakur, great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Harish. Thank you for having me.
Great. So you've worked across consulting, strategy, research, academia, incubation, basically a lot of worlds that usually don't sit in one person's profile. So I have to start here. How did this journey happen?
Yeah, so a brief about myself. I used to work as a consultant, a typical consultant job in one of these big four consultancy firms. And over there, I realized that I had this, some desire to become an academician. So then I realized that if I have to do that, I have to do PhD. Right. So I left my job, enrolled for PhD full time, did my PhD from IIM Lucknow. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do PhD, I wanted to study family business further. Because back in consultancy, some of these clients were family businesses. I was quite intrigued by the way, they conduct their business, because they are different from a normal business in many ways. And I wanted to explore that as a part of my research, which I did eventually. And then I joined academia full time. So as you know about my profile now, I am associated with MDI now. So here is a complete switch from corporate to academia.
Very interesting. You have seen business from so many angles. Has that changed the way you look at entrepreneurship today? Especially when you are working with students?
I think one of the reasons, so I consider myself as a fan of Indian, business history as well. So one of the things which I have noticed in Indian business is that entrepreneurship is actually has always been there. Now it has been celebrated with different nomenclatures, different words like startups, and fundings are being celebrated, etc. But it's not that entrepreneurship was not there, say 50 years back. It was there. The industries were different, and at that time, the requirement in terms of working in those industries, coming up with solving the problems of customers were different. Now these are different. So there is indeed an evaluation, and no denial in that. There is an evolution in the startup ecosystem. One of the positives, if I need to tell you some of the positives, is that now it is easy to bounce off your ideas. Now it is easy to find mentors, relatively easy to get funding for your startup if you have some bright idea, compared to say 4 or 5 decades back. So there is a welcome change in the startup ecosystem, and we from academia, we can see that it is actually healthy for especially for the Indian startup ecosystem.
Interesting. Let's talk about MDI Gurgaon. A lot of institutions talk about entrepreneurship, but creating a real culture around it is very different. So how do you see that taking shape at MDI?
Yeah. So one of the things which the we faculty and the higher leadership, we noticed that MDI Gurgaon did not have an institutionalized arrangement to nurture entrepreneurship. I mean, we used to teach entrepreneurship, we used to talk about startups, we used to help or mentor students who used to come up with their own venture, but there was no institutional arrangement. So 4 years back, it was decided that there should be a center which should give an acceleration, as the name accelerator suggests, to the startups, and to develop or help them in developing a go-to-market strategy. So I think there is an interest in student community about coming up with their own startup ventures, but still there is risk awareness also associated. So I would not deny that fact that there is a risk averseness. There is a fear of failure, that if you venture on this journey. So what I observed is, generally student, they think that, okay, let us have some corporate experience, say for 4, 5, 7 years. Let us have some exposure about the industry, wherein we would like to have some kind of venture. So that is my observation, that they don't want to straight away come up with a venture once passed out of B school. They wanted to first gain a significant experience, and then they wanted to come up with something.
Interesting. You also lead that incubation center and accelerator. So what are some of the things you and the institute are doing to help students or early founders move from idea to execution?
Yeah. So what we do is that if students have bright idea, we kind of ask them to present those ideas first within the community itself. If we think that there is a merit in those ideas, so after due filtration process, we try to arrange a discussion with various mentors, various angel investors, if they are willing to invest in students' ventures. So this is what we are doing. And if there is some possibility, we try to help them out in developing go-to-market strategy also.
Interesting. That actually brings me to our series theme, School to Startup. So in your mind, what does that journey really look like today?
Pardon, I did not get your question.
So basically, when you think of School to Startup, from the idea with respect to student, so what does that journey really look like in today's world?
I think, as I always say to my students also, it is very important to look at the problem which they are trying to solve. That as a normal customer, if they had been on the receiving end, then only that particular startup will gain some traction. So it is very important to solve a real world problem. It is very important to look for the real customer, to add value in his or her life through your product or services. Then only your startup will flourish. At times, students develop this mentality by looking at the role models, that if they come up with a very good solution for a problem, they might get windfall funding, and it will increase the value of their startup, which in my view is a wrong notion. Because during the initial stage of the startup, it is very important to solve the problem of the customer and build on your venture, rather than looking at the gains which might come with the growth of the venture.
Very interesting. And also, a very interesting part of your work is around family businesses, as you told earlier. And honestly, that's such an important part of India's entrepreneurship story as well. So do you think family businesses still doesn't get enough space in the larger startup conversation?
So I believe that again, as I mentioned, that since we celebrate funding and everything which comes along with a new business venture, Having said so, if you look around us, you will find every second company is actually a family business. And one of the reasons why these business have been so successful is that they inherently have this risk averse approach, which actually work in a positive manner with these family businesses, because whenever they take some decision, they take that decision after due deliberations. If they need to take funding also, then they really think that if they want to expand, they want to go into some geography, whether actually that funding is required or not. So I think family businesses should be celebrated more, because due to family businesses only, these, for example, if you look at a company like Marico. Now, if you look at Marico, if you look at the, the promoters share in the business, you can, by that definition, you can always call that company as a family business. But if you look at the history of the company, right, then you will find that it is company actually being powered by an entrepreneur, Mr. Mariwala, Mr. Harsh Mariwala. He started his journey in late 80s, and then he developed this company as one of the biggest FMCG companies in India, right? So for family businesses also, initially the journey is started by an entrepreneur only, and then eventually, maybe after 30-40 years, the business kind of becomes a family business. So actually there are a lot of learnings from family business, the way you need to operate your business, the way you need to grow into different product markets, the way you have to do due deliberations, the way you don't have to burn cash without actually any reasoning. So all of those learnings can be incorporated in entrepreneurial ecosystem as well.
Interesting. Talking about MDI, I understand MDI is using Tracxn in different ways. Could you share a little bit about that, how your students or the institute are actually using the platform?
Yeah, so, a couple of times I have had interactions with students wherein I asked them how you are using different platforms, including Tracxn, because we being an educational institute, we are having tie-up with different companies. So what I found is that since, as I mentioned to you, that students are very much interested in the way, various startups are actually headed. So if they have to look at their growth, their journey, their funding, their history, the founders, they have this very good, platform called Tracxn, wherein, they can have all the information with maybe multiple clicks. So I think in that sense, students, they really like this platform. And for me, faculty also, as a faculty also, if I need to give them some assignment, for me, it is very easy. I can always, show them that, okay, these are the companies, these are the peers, you can compare, you can tell me that, okay, what should be the strategy. So I think it is a very good platform to actually see what is happening in Indian startup ecosystem, where the companies are headed, how financially sound they are, who are the founders, what they are doing. So it is quite helpful for us, for both sides, I think, faculty and students in many ways.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Before we close, what's one thing you feel universities should do more if they really want to prepare students for the journey from school to startup?
I think universities or colleges like MDA, they should have more tie-up with especially the successful founders who have successful companies. They can have tie-ups with them. Other thing is, you mentioned about family businesses. Now family businesses also have something called family office, wherein through their family offices they also started actually from last 4 or 5 years, started investing in startups or bright ideas. So it's not only about collaboration with successful startup founders, it is also about collaboration with these family offices, wherein if they think there is a bright idea, they can always mentor, they can always finance, and they can always bring that idea to its fruition. So I think more collaborative arrangement in between academia and industry is required.
Very interesting. Before I ask you the final question, I wanted to ask this. You told that you're using Tracxn for your course curriculum as well as assignments. Is it possible to brief about that particular activity, what you're doing?
Yeah, so as I mentioned that what I do is that, for example, I am going through some news of some startups. So what I do is that I write them, for example, 4 or 5 companies. So one by one, I go to Tracxn to see their journey. So the good thing about Tracxn is that it starts from the names itself, the founders, right? And if you click on that, you can look at their educational journey also through different platform. Then you can come back and can look at the financing aspects, and then you look at the latest news. I think that is also very important, that what this company is currently doing. End-to-end journey of startup is covered in Tracxn, uh, which I at times found very useful. So I think every week I do this exercise. Whenever I read about startups, if I wanted to have a very quick overview about that startup, I go to Tracxn and have a very quick overview, maybe within 15-20 minutes about that startup.
Amazing. And finally, for the students, founders, and even educators who are watching today, what's the one message that you would like to leave them with?
See, I don't think so that I am in a position to give a message. So my only message is that, especially for a B school, it is very important to have I'm a big fan of an active collaboration between academia and the real world, real business world. Because for a B school, it is very important that if you are preparing future managers, so what are the challenges which are coming up in this so-called VUCA world, that how they can navigate through these challenges. It is very important, I think, for everybody, not only for students, but for faculty, but for people who are working in various business domains. So that is very important to work in basically cross collaboration with each other.
Amazing. Professor Thakur, thank you so much for being part of this episode. This was really an insightful conversation. Today's conversation gave us some great insights into how universities can build stronger entrepreneurial ecosystems, how students can think more strategically about startups, and how tools like Tracxn can make entrepreneurship learning more practical and data-driven. Thank you so much for being part of this episode.
Thanks, Harish. It is my pleasure indeed. Thank you.
Great. So for all viewers, for more such conversation, do like, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell icon so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. Thank you for watching.